It takes less than 7 seconds. 7 seconds for a stranger to decide if you're trustworthy. 7 seconds to decide if you're smart, likable, dangerous, or worth their time. You didn't get a chance to explain yourself. You didn't get to mention your achievements, your kindness, the hardest year of your life that made you who you are today. None of that mattered yet, because the decision was already made. Before your first sentence finished, before you even sat down. Here's the unsettling part. That snap judgment, made in less time than it takes to read this sentence, will shape how that person treats you for weeks, months, sometimes forever. Your interview, your first date, that deal you were counting on, decided in silence before you said a word. By the end of this video, you will never walk into a room the same way again. We like to believe we are fair judges of character, that we take our time, that we get to know people before we decide what we think of them. We are lying to ourselves. The human brain was never built for patience. It was built for survival. And for thousands of years, survival meant making fast decisions about strangers. Is this person a threat, an ally, a mate, a rival? Often in the time it takes to blink. That ancient wiring never left us. It just changed its battlefield. Instead of judging a stranger by a fire in the dark, we now judge them by a handshake, a LinkedIn photo, the tone of a text message, the 30 seconds before an interview officially begins. This single invisible process quietly runs your whole life. It decides who gets hired and who gets passed over, who gets a second date and who gets ghosted, who gets trusted with a leadership role and who gets overlooked in a meeting, even when they had the better idea. We call it a first impression. But what's actually happening underneath is far stranger, far faster, and far more powerful than most people realize. Psychologists have a name for this lightning-fast reading of a person. They call it thin slicing. The idea is simple and a little disturbing. Your brain doesn't need the full picture to form a confident opinion. It only needs a thin slice of information, a few seconds of behavior, a flicker of expression, a tone of voice. And from that sliver, it builds an entire story about who you are. The wild part is that thin slicing isn't always wrong. Sometimes those instant judgments are surprisingly accurate, but sometimes they are catastrophically unfair. And the terrifying truth is, in the moment, you can never tell which one is happening. So what exactly is your brain scanning for in those first few seconds? It starts with your face. Before you speak a single word, people are already reading your expression, deciding in an instant whether you seem warm or cold, safe or threatening. A raised eyebrow, a tight jaw, a genuine smile. The brain processes these signals almost instantly, long before logic has a chance to weigh in. Then there's eye contact. Too little, and you seem nervous, or worse, dishonest. Too much, and you seem aggressive, even unstable. There is a narrow, almost invisible window of just right that we are all unconsciously scored against. Then, your body. Are your shoulders open or closed? Are you taking up space or trying to disappear? Long before humans had language, we were reading posture to sense danger. That instinct never got the memo that we're not in the wild anymore. Then, your voice. Not your words, your tone. A slow, steady voice reads as calm and confident. A fast, high-pitched voice reads as anxious, even if the words themselves are brilliant. People will forget what you said far sooner than they forget how your voice made them feel. And then, almost unfairly, your clothes. What you wear becomes a costume the brain uses to instantly assign you a role, competent or careless, powerful or forgettable, before you've had a chance to prove anything at all. Finally, confidence, not arrogance. A quiet, steady certainty in how you carry yourself. Somehow, the brain can sense the difference between someone who believes they belong in the room and someone who's terrified they don't. All of this, face, eyes, posture, voice, clothing, confidence, gets processed together, instantly, into a single verdict. And once that verdict is formed, something even stranger happens. Your brain starts protecting it. In the late 1980s, a psychologist named Nalini Ambady ran an experiment that would change how we understand human judgment forever. She showed people silent video clips of college professors teaching. No sound, no context, just body language for a few seconds at a time. The clips were absurdly short. 2 seconds, 5 seconds, 10 seconds at most. Then she asked the viewers to rate the professors. Were they warm, competent, likable, skilled at their jobs? Here's where it gets eerie. Those snap ratings, based on a few silent seconds of video, closely matched the evaluations that real students gave after an entire semester of classes. 10 seconds of silent footage, an entire semester of learning. Nearly the same verdict. This became one of the most cited findings in social psychology. We are not slowly building our opinions of people over time, the way we like to imagine. We are forming them almost instantly, and then spending the rest of the relationship quietly confirming what we already decided. That confirming part has a name too: confirmation bias. Once your brain believes something about a person, it starts hunting for evidence to prove itself right, and quietly ignoring anything that says otherwise. Meet someone and instantly feel they're arrogant. Every confident thing they do afterward becomes proof. Every humble thing they do gets brushed aside as an exception. Decide someone is warm and trustworthy in the first 10 seconds, you will forgive their mistakes for months. There's another twist to this story, and it's called the halo effect. It was first studied by psychologist Edward Thorndike, who noticed something strange in the way military officers rated their soldiers. If a soldier was seen as physically impressive, the officers also rated him as smarter, more disciplined, more capable of leadership, with no actual evidence for any of it. One positive trait was creating a halo that made the brain assume other positive traits must exist too. Attractive, therefore intelligent. Well-dressed, therefore successful. Confident, therefore correct. This is not logic. This is the brain taking a shortcut and calling that shortcut truth. Even Princeton researchers dug deeper into this and found something almost unbelievable. In their studies, people were shown faces for a mere 1/10 of a second, and were still able to form consistent judgments about how trustworthy or competent that stranger looked. 1/10 of a second, faster than you can register a conscious thought. And your brain has already delivered a verdict on a total stranger's character. Now picture the job interview. The interviewer's decision isn't made 10 minutes in, once you've explained your experience. Research suggests it's often shaped in the first few seconds. Your handshake,
your posture as you walk in, the way you say hello. Everything after that tends to become the interviewer justifying a decision they already made. Now picture the first date. Two strangers sitting across from each other, both scanning for signals faster than either of them realizes. A slouched posture reads as disinterest. A shaky voice reads as nervousness, which the brain quietly recodes as low confidence. Meanwhile, none of that has anything to do with whether this person would actually make a wonderful partner. But the brain doesn't wait for the full story. It never does. Now picture walking into a room full of strangers at a networking event. You have not said a single sentence yet, and already dozens of tiny verdicts are being formed about you. Approachable or intimidating, confident or anxious, worth talking to or worth avoiding. Now picture the business meeting, where a founder pitches investors for the first time. Studies on venture capital pitches have found that investors often decide their gut feeling about a founder within the opening minute and spend the rest of the meeting looking for reasons to justify that gut feeling, whichever direction it went. Public speaking works the same twisted way. An audience decides whether they trust and like a speaker almost before the first slide appears, based on posture, breathing, the calm or chaos in that speaker's opening seconds. Every single one of these moments feels to us like a fair, rational evaluation happening in real time. It isn't. It's a story your brain already finished writing, and now it's just watching the movie play out to confirm the ending.
Here is the uncomfortable truth this video has been building toward. If first impressions are formed this fast, based on so little real information, then first impressions are often wrong. Not occasionally wrong, systematically, predictably wrong, and often wrong in the same unfair directions over and over again. Attractive people are consistently rated as more intelligent, more trustworthy, and more competent, despite there being no actual connection between someone's face and their character. This isn't a small effect either. It shows up in hiring decisions, salary negotiations, even courtroom sentencing. People with deeper voices are perceived as more authoritative. People who speak with certain accents are unfairly perceived as less intelligent, regardless of what they're actually saying. None of this reflects reality. All of it reflects bias, dressed up as instinct. This is how brilliant candidates get passed over because they were nervous in the first 90 seconds of an interview. This is how kind, genuine people get labeled as cold because their resting expression doesn't naturally look warm. This is how someone's worst day, the one where they were exhausted or grieving or simply having an off morning, becomes the permanent story a new acquaintance tells about who they are. The brain doesn't do this because it's cruel. It does this because it's efficient. Thousands of years ago, hesitation could get you killed. Today, that same hesitation-avoiding shortcut quietly decides who gets the job, who gets the loan, who gets believed, and who gets dismissed. Which raises the real question this whole video has been circling around from the very first second. If you know your first impression will happen instantly, unfairly, and largely outside anyone's conscious control, what, if anything, can you actually do about it? Here's the good news buried inside all of this unsettling psychology. You cannot control whether people judge you instantly, but you absolutely can influence what that instant judgment finds. Start with the smile, but it has to be real. Psychologists can tell the difference between a genuine smile and a forced one just by looking at the eyes. A real smile engages the muscles around the eyes, not just the mouth. People sense that difference even if they can't explain it, and it's often the fastest way to signal warmth before you've said a single word. Then, posture. Standing tall, shoulders open, chest slightly forward. This isn't about looking dominant. It's about looking settled, calm, like you belong exactly where you are standing. That signal alone changes how people initially read your confidence. Then, eye contact. Not a stare, a steady, comfortable gaze that says, "I see you, and I'm not afraid to be seen either." This one small habit does more to build instant trust than almost anything else on this list. Then, your voice. Speak slightly slower than feels natural. Nervous energy speeds people up, and speed reads as anxiety. Slowing down, even slightly, makes you sound more grounded, more certain, more in control of the moment, even if inside you don't feel that way at all.
Then your appearance. Not about being expensive, about being intentional. Clothes that are clean, that fit well, that suit the room you're walking into. This quietly signals self-respect before you've spoken a single sentence. Then, listening. Genuine, active listening. Nodding, responding, asking a real follow-up question signals warmth almost instantly. Because most people are so used to being half listened to that real attention stands out immediately. And underneath every single one of these tips is the one thing that makes all of them actually work. Authenticity. People can sense performance. They can sense when a smile, a posture, a tone is being worn like a costume instead of lived in. The tools in this list only work when they come from something real underneath them. Genuine warmth, genuine confidence, genuine respect for the person standing in front of you. Because here's the twist nobody tells you about first impressions. You're not actually trying to trick anyone's brain. You're trying to give that 7-second scanner accurate information about who you already are, faster than your words ever could. So here's where all of this leaves us. Somewhere out there, right now, someone is walking into a room that will change their life. A job interview, a first date, a meeting that decides the next 10 years of their career, and they have no idea that the outcome is already being quietly decided in the first few seconds. Maybe that someone is you, tomorrow. People will forget most of what you say to them. They'll forget the exact words of your pitch, your joke, your explanation. But they will never forget how you made them feel in that first, fragile moment of meeting you. Calm or chaotic, warm or cold, present or distracted. Psychology gave us the science, but it also gave us the responsibility that comes with knowing it. Because once you understand how fast and how unfair these judgments can be, you get to choose something most people never do. You get to walk into that room on purpose. The first impression opens the door, but your character is what decides whether it stays open. So the next time you walk into a room full of strangers, ask yourself this. In the 7 seconds before you say a single word, what story is your silence already telling them?